Greetings, one and all, and thanks for watching. One wonders, is this channel predestined? Is my life predestined? Is your life predestined? You know, what is predestination? And it says in the dictionary, predestination of an outcome or cause of events determined in advance by divine will or fate. So, is everyone's life predetermined? I believe that Gurdjieff is telling us that our life is predetermined if we are doing the divine will, and that we will develop ourselves and go forward and become something, the higher self of our true being, who we really meant to be. And when we don't work on ourselves, then we just follow the law of accident rather than the law of fate. We're not being the true person we're supposed to be. I'm sure all of you, like I did as a kid, I felt I had a destiny. But I have met people, not many of them, thankfully, who've never had that feeling. I do worry about them. They've they're just the mechanical people that follow a mechanical life that have no inkling or even want to develop themselves. And I thank the gods every day that I'm not like that. And I question everything and think that I can make my own destiny, blast my own path, go forward and be the blazing star I want to be, not, the dull darkness that surrounds it. From what I understand of Gurdjieff, he talks about that we're here to break our astrology. So we all should have an astrological chart when we're born that tells us where the planets are, where the stars are in our chart, and what influences they have on us in various houses in our chart. And in a way, that can be seen as a foretelling of how our life would go. But I get the idea, and I'm sure Gurdjieff says it somewhere, that we're here to break that astrological chart and instead work to become a real live human being. Life is real only then when I am. So is that astrological chart just your personality? And we're trying to develop our essence. So our personality might be predestined to do a certain something, but if we bring our essence up, we change all that and go and follow through and do, let's say, something bigger, better, and greater, because we're being alive, like living for real, being a real person. And by doing that, we're breaking free of that mechanicalism, and we're not being a mechanism, just a part of the cog of the wheel of everybody else's life in the world that's going on. Instead, we're being part of the cosmic will, of the cosmic laws, of the harmonious laws that are set forth by the divine source, by his endlessness in Gurdjieff's terminology. And in All and Everything, Gurdjieff's book, on page 195, he says, although you were created for the purpose of the common cosmic existence on planets, so living here, and although you were created also as a field of hope for the future expectations of our common all gracious creator, so a field of hope that we fulfill the ambition, the dream, the life that the divine source has given us, rather than wasting it, squandering it. That is to say, created with the possibilities of coating in your presence that higher sacred for the possible arising of which the whole of our now existing world was just created. And by doing this work, we're bringing ourselves out of the lower states of being and going up to the higher, so that we're working with the divine source and the cosmic running of the universe and being a part of the harmony of all that, rather than living in the chaotic everyday life that our personality takes us through, that feels like it has no meaning. Even though if you have, like I did as a child, sense that something big was going to happen to you, I think it's, this kind of development of waking up and pulling ourselves out of that sleep, dragging us awake, dragging ourselves out of sleep to see what's really going on in the world. And isn't that more wonderful than some predestination of that, you're going to be I don't know, I'm just going to be silly here, like a pop star, or your predestiny is to run that business or have that family and, loads of kids. Nothing wrong with all that if you're awake. When you're just being programmed and asleep, then you're just doing personality things, where this is talking about higher sacred possibilities, higher sacred vibrations of developing yourself so that you're part of the divine plan, which is what we want to be. And many people in life think that everything's fated. Oh, that happened, it's fated, that happened to me, or I it drives me nuts actually when people say that to me. Not necessarily, it's just the law of accident. Things don't just happen for a reason, or very few things happen for a reason. Most things are law of accident. Things happen that, when we're a little bit awake, keep us away from getting caught up in situations that might bring us down or be dangerous or save our lives in some way. I'm sure many of us have all had those, hopefully not too often times, escape from death, or that you suddenly got that inkling not to go down that path and instead went down another path, and hopefully a better situation happened for you, an opportunity of some kind. But with predestination, I think Gurdjieff's talking about it being on a higher level, a higher degree. And he goes on to say, right, so he's talking about higher, sacred to the possible arising of which the whole of our now existing world was just created. And in spite of the said possibilities given to you, that is to say, in spite of your having been created free-brained with possibilities of a logical mentation, yet you do not use this sacred property of yours for the purpose for which it was foreordained, but manifest it as cunning towards his other creations, as for instance towards your own donkey. We use our intellect and our intelligence for getting by in life. When if we're working with all our centers, we're waking up to life and living the destiny that we should be, or going on the destiny that the divine source wants us to go on. When we're just working in one center or other, we're making our own destiny. Though there's nothing wrong with making our own destiny. Some people want to stay asleep, but if we're waking up and we use all our centers, we're making that destiny go forward, so that we're blazing forward and breaking free of the law of accident, and instead becoming involved with the law of fate and possibly the law of karma, I would say. I think a lot of things happen, obviously, with a cause and effect. Karma is a big influence on our lives. And I do notice, I've said it before, that people that are doing this kind of work and are waking up, karma comes around quicker. It's like, because we're aware that we need to deal with our karma. Where people that are quite asleep and don't really work on themselves, their karma might come later in life, or it might come in another life, in the next life. And Gurdjieff just reminds us that apart from the possibilities present in you of consciously coating in your presence the mentioned higher sacred, this donkey of yours is of the same value for the common cosmic process, and consequently for our common creator, as you yourself, since each of you is predestined for some definite purpose. And these distinct definite purposes in their totality actualize the sense of everything existing. So if we're working on our higher selves, we're then working on a more higher and sacred purpose rather than a lower down vibrational purpose of just mundane life. That higher sacred purpose of working with the divine and the cosmic laws obviously is much more important and much more greater than being on lower vibrations. But we get easily distracted, and we easily just use one center for certain things. So this is all part of the work of working on ourselves, and how glorious it is that we're given this opportunity. And to actualize them and to become a part of the whole the harmonious mechanical process of the universe, rather than the mundane mechanical process of everyday life of a sleepy person. of an asleep person. And so I wanted to do this little show because someone was saying to me about how I'd done a show over Easter and whether people are like Christ, are predestined. Well, I think Christ was a developed person already. I don't think he was born as Christ either, which is going to be a bit of a theological debate here. I think Jesus of Nazareth went and became a learned being, and he either self-taught himself or was with masters, so he could develop himself, and he was able to develop himself to such a degree that when he was baptized by John the Baptist, that's when he was graced with the Holy Spirit, and then he became the Christ. Now, this is my idea of it, and I know there's various churches out there that follow that as well. There are some that argue that Jesus was Christ from birth. I debate that, which for me gives us the opportunity of developing ourselves so that we can take in either Christ consciousness or be graced with the Holy Spirit. But by working on ourselves, we're breaking that mundane, I keep using the word mundane, but the mechanical way of life. By developing ourselves, we're waking up, developing our body, our emotions, and our intellect, and all our centers so that they work harmoniously. And I think whilst we're doing that, we are graced, maybe not with full enlightenment, but we're graced with opportunities, the divine notices that we're working on ourselves. So we have opportunities put in our way, and suggestions put in our way, and little guides are put in our way, and we just have to be awake enough and aware enough to notice them when they happen. But also, in all and everything, towards the end, in the last chapter from the author, Gurdjieff talks some more about predestination and it being part of our purpose, our aim, our great common purpose, he calls it. So I'm just going to read from this. There is in our life a certain very great purpose, and we must all serve this great common purpose. In this lies the whole sense and predestination of our life. All people, without exception, are slaves of this greatness, and all are compelled willy-nilly to submit and to fulfill without condition or compromise what has been predestined for each of us by his transmitted heredity and his acquired being. Now, I wonder if he's talking here also about reincarnation and how we've developed ourselves perhaps through other lifetimes. And by keep working on ourselves, maybe we did wake up and developed our Christian body and went off somewhere else, but then we've been brought back down to earth for some reason. But we've got that, what we've learned in a past life carries over into the next life, which is why I think it's very important to work on ourselves in this life so that we can take it on into the next life if we don't get off the wheel. Or maybe, again, I'm going to be a bit controversial for some people. I think Jesus of Nazareth, throughout his incarnations through his time, maybe worked in different, not necessarily religious, but definitely spiritual, soulful capacities in his other lives, that he was developing himself every time in each life as he went forward, so that by the time he was Jesus of Nazareth that we know of in the Bible, he was more fully developed and prepared to accept the full Christ consciousness in him. And maybe we have been in other lives. I do suggest to people sometimes, if you can find a really good past life regression teacher, go and find out about yourselves, but don't get caught up on it. Don't be thinking, I know people get addicted to it. Do we really need to know what happened in our past lives? We should perhaps be concentrating on this life. But sometimes finding out about certain past lives, because I think the relevant ones would come up if you're with a good past life regressor that would help you in this life. Maybe something's holding you back or there's a blockage or something. There might be a development in that way. Don't really poo-poo anything, but everything's worth trying. Just don't become addicted to it. I know people that go back for more and more past lives all the time because they're not really happy in this life, so they're trying to find happiness in past lives. Don't be doing that. Go forward in this life, finding your happiness and your well-being and inner peace in this life. This is the one that's important. Um, and Gurdjieff goes on after talking about the great common purpose, about becoming the real man, you know, a difference to a sleeping man. And what is greatness? Yeah, the difference between them, as I've already said, consists in this, that since the attitude of the former to his slavery is conscious, he acquires the possibility simultaneously with serving the all-universal actualizing, of applying part of his manifestations according to the providence of great nature for the purpose of acquiring for himself imperishable being. And that's one of the important things of the Gurdjieff work. We're trying to develop a being in us. We're being alive. But we need to develop that being to work to its best quality. Like, look up the definition of what the word being actually is. Everybody is awake, well, not awake. Everybody exists. Everybody thinks they're awake in their everyday lives, you know, and then goes to sleep at night. But really, we're sleeping through life unless we start working on ourselves. And to do that, we need to develop our being. So from my being to your being, thank you for watching, and hope this little show helped you in your development. Let's go forward and be the real people that we want to be. Break that predestination and instead send our destiny to the divine universe and be part of that and work with the divine. Thank you.